Hello, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm talking about pre-season training and especially wedges. After the winter break, one of the first things you're going to lose is kind of distance control with your short clubs. You can still practice full swing, you can even practice putting at home on a mat. Your technique should be okay, but getting that feel back for distances, especially with the short irons, is something you just got to practice at the beginning of the season. And that's why I would recommend you get out on a driving range as soon as possible and start this. Now, because of the development of new golf clubs, what we're finding is that the lofts are getting steeper and steeper all the time. It means that what used to be a wedge is now really a 9-iron. My pitching wedge has 45 degrees on it. The new Callaway Rogue OS wedge has 41 degrees on it. So it basically means it's not a wedge. And the one benefit that you have is you're hitting the ball further than ever before with your wedge. The other side of that coin is that you are going to have to learn to make shorter swings in order to hit the golf ball shorter. And judging the length of those swings is one of the most difficult things in this game because it's all about feel. Now, I've talked about it before. There is an alternative to this. If you are thinking about the idea of just simply taking it back shorter, but taking it back the same amount of shorter every time, then the question is, how do you do that? And there is one simple option, and that is basically your address position and more directly your feet and hip position at the address position. If you think of the backswing simply as an ability to rotate away from the ball, then by limiting the amount you can rotate away from the ball physiologically, you will shorten your backswing. So you could basically say if you normally get 45 degrees of rotation in your hips in the backswing and you stand 45 degrees open to the target in your address position, then your hips are going to be square at the top of your backswing and your backswing is going to be cut in half. The problem with this is keeping your shoulders square during the swing. Your shoulders are not used to this kind of an address position, although you'll see guys like Lee Trevino who stood even with their driver with their feet open. It's something that you really do have to get used to. An open stance and the same swing. That will, however, give you a very solid feeling for where the end of your backswing is. And you can change this basically for the distance you want to take it back. So if 45 degrees is too much, start with 30 degrees. With 30 degrees open stance, you'll be able to take the club back even further. There are many of you, however, who will struggle with this. And for them, I would basically get yourself a camera or a mobile, stick it on a tripod and start filming yourself. Because what you've got to do is get a feeling for the positions in the backswing. What kind of feedback is your body giving you? When you have a feeling of being at 9 o'clock in your backswing with the arm parallel, are you actually there? And this is the problem, that unfortunately not everybody's ability to feel these positions is the same. And for that reason, I would definitely say you've got to get yourself some kind of immediate feedback so that you know, is 9 or is 9 or 10 o'clock? And I think I just spoke to you in German there. Is 9 o'clock 9 o'clock or is 10 o'clock 10 o'clock? Because if you are swinging it back to what you think is 9 o'clock and it's actually 10 o'clock on one day, the next day 9 o'clock is 8 o'clock, then obviously your feeling for distance is absolutely out of the window. The last thing you can obviously look at is the golf clubs. There are so many different varieties of wedges out there in all kinds of loss and in all kinds of bounces. We've talked about this as well in the past, but Today I'm really only interested in kind of distance control, and that's really where you want to be looking at what kind of loft do the clubs have. Now, in the past you would basically say your wedge has 45 degrees, your gap wedge has 50, your sand wedge has 55, and your lob wedge has 60. Because of the movement of all wedges into a little bit stronger lofts, then probably you might be a couple of degrees below that with the wedges in your bag. It would be a good idea to go out and see, have you got 4 wedges in your bag, and maybe is that something you want to be thinking about, because obviously it might be a little easier for you to make maybe a 3/4 swing with all of your clubs and just simply change the club that you're hitting. So if I take a 48-degree wedge here and make my feeling of a 3/4 backswing, suddenly I'm hitting the same kind of distance as I was hitting my pitching wedge with a half backswing. Again, it's all about finding out which is the shot for you, which is the shot that you find easier to hit, rather than saying, okay, what does my neighbor do? Because everybody has a different feeling, and therefore everybody should be using a different club and a different backswing for the same distance. Once you've actually decided what you're doing, the last thing that you've got to be doing is really start to hit at targets. So to begin with, I wouldn't really worry too much about where the ball's going or even the distance that it's going until you can actually get repetitive movement. So if you can actually call 9 o'clock, and it is 9 o'clock, till you can say I'm 30 degrees open with my hips, and you are 30 degrees open, until you can say I hit a 48-degree wedge or a 50-degree wedge or a 60-degree wedge, until these decisions have been made, there's no way that you can actually start working to targets. But you should then, once you've actually got it, have an idea of, okay, my 9 o'clock swing with a 48-degree wedge goes 70 meters. And then you want to be looking at a target around 70 meters away from you. So then you've got to be going through routine as if on a golf course with a full pre-shot routine, the exact same thoughts that you would be using on the round. And then I want you to really hit around about 20 balls all at the same target with exactly the same swing. And the idea is to get a feeling for which of the golf clubs and which of the combinations of swing length are best for you for that particular target. And you've got to be looking at dispersion in length and in direction. So you want to be taking into account, where is the ball landing, how far left or right of the target is the ball landing, and how consistently are you able to do that. You might well find that one of the clubs is better for a distance than another club. One of the backswing lengths is better for that distance than the last club. And that is basically what you've got to basically get written into stone by the time you get onto a golf course. You don't want to be making these decisions on a golf course. Should I hit a 9-iron with a half swing? Should I hit a wedge with a 3/4 swing? Or should I hit a 48-degree wedge with a full swing? These decisions should be made on the driving range so that on the golf course you know what you're doing. And that way you're going to hit more greens, you're going to get closer to the pin, and you're going to score better right from the get-go. Once again, all together, think about whether you're going to swing to a position in the clock or whether you're going to open your hips and feet at address, or maybe a combination of both. Once you've decided on that, have a look at the equipment that you're using and see if you are either better hitting one loft rather than another loft. And really practice these combinations until you feel confident that when you actually stand there, your mobile phone is saying you're doing what you actually think you're doing. When you've done that, start hitting at targets and make sure that you're hitting at least 20 balls into each target with a full pre-shot routine in order to get decent feedback and objective feedback that that is actually the best club for the job. And then if you're like me, write it down in your birdie book so that when you're going, you've actually got a memory basically to begin at the beginning of the season. This is the club that I take from this distance, and I don't care what else is happening on the golf course, because the quicker and the more conviction that you have about your shot decisions, the better you're going to play. Hope this helps you. If it does, hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed to me yet, please do so. Once again, a big shout out and thank you to all the patrons who are supporting me this season. If you would like to become a patron, I shall leave a link below. Till the next time, bye bye now.